Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call to order this meeting of the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission on February 6, 2019. May I have a roll call, please?
Daniel Henderson. Here. Michael DiMartini.
Here.
Bill Hauk. Here. Michael Drinkwater. Here. John Enlow. Here. John Flansburgh. Mickey Hazelwood. Here. John Martini. Here. John Coombs.
Here.
Dave Solero. Mervyn Wright.
Here.
John Zimmerman.
Here.
Harry Fonstock. Thomas Payette.
Here.
Mylin Nugayan. Cindy Turchek. Here. Ron Penrose. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, now is our time for public comments. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, it's a 3-minute time limit per person. I see no cards from the public. So we'll go on to the next item, which is the approval of the agenda. We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Drinkwater and the second from Commissioner Zimmerman. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, our next item is approval of the minutes from the August 14th, 2018 and November 7th, 2018 meetings. We can we do those both together, or should we we'll just
Do
wait?
it together unless there is a comment or a correction. And then you should separate them.
Okay, so let's try it together first. Motion for approval from Commissioner who? Zimmerman. Thank you. There's a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Enlow. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item we have is report and discussion on annual priority setting, fiscal year 2019-2020, budget development process, and timing of the concurrent workshops with the Western Regional Water Commission and possible direction to staff. Mr. Smitherman, Water Resources Manager, would you continue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item really is just about scheduling more than anything else, but because of a set of vacancies on the Western Regional Water Commission Board of Trustees, the chairman has asked me to postpone their February meeting. And if you recall, that was the meeting that we were going to have a concurrent workshop on priority setting. And so that rolls the earliest meeting date for that workshop back to March 20th. And then that was also the date that we were going to schedule a concurrent workshop on the budget. So that really leaves us with a couple of alternatives. One would be to combine the priority setting and the budget workshop into one workshop on March 20th, or we could schedule one workshop for March 20th, and then the next workshop on the budget would follow the next month in April. So really, I wanted to get your input and see if you had a preference on that one. I didn't give you a recommendation, but if it were up to me, I think I would just go with combining the two workshops so that we can talk about priorities and budgeting in one workshop with the Western Regional Water Commission. I think that we could still get that done in the amount of time that we would have for the workshop. But I will leave that up to your discussion and deliberation and a possible recommendation. Whatever you come up with, I can forward that to the chairman and let him know what you thought.
Okay, was that March 20th? Was there a time?
March 20th, it would be at 8 o'clock in the morning is when we would start the Western Regional Water Commission meeting, and then nested within that meeting would be the concurrent workshop.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments on that or direction? Yes, Commissioner Flansburgh.
I move, I move that we hold the meetings concurrent on March 20th, 2019.
So a motion from Commissioner Flansburgh and a second from Commissioner Drinkwater to have a joint meeting starting at 8 a.m. on March 20th, 2019. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, just for the record then, that would be to combine the priority setting workshop and the budget workshop in one concurrent workshop on March 20th. That's the direction I'll be taking. Okay, thank you.
And Jim, could I ask just exactly where would this workshop be?
Okay, the location would be at Sparks City Hall. There is a downstairs training room in their main City Hall building, and we are working on securing that. Jen, did you get that one reserved, or we still? Okay, we've requested it, so if that's where we'll hold it tentatively, if there's a change in location, I will certainly let you know.
Okay, that's on Prater Way.
Prater Way, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I asked, because I would have been over here. Thanks very much. Okay, now our next item on the agenda is review and discussion, or no, where are we here? Yeah, number 6, review and discussion of the current fiscal year 2018-2019 professional services budget, committed and uncommitted funds, and budget priorities, including but not limited to ditch flooding and closed basin flooding, with possible direction to staff. Mr. Smitherman again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one where it's really what Mr. Wessel and I are bringing you is a status report on where we are with committing this year's professional services budget to the projects and within their priority areas that was developed into this fiscal year's budget. So if you look at the attachment to your staff report, it's in the same format as the detail page in the budget. The left column are the categories that are mandated by law to be in the water management plan, and then the individual projects that are funded or at least budgeted underneath them. The next column is actually the amount that we had obligated or committed to each one of them as a project. If there's a 0 in that column, that means that we don't have a contract, we don't have a project idea, and that essentially we don't expect to spend the money that's in that column. So if there's a 0 in that column, we've moved the balance over to the right and titled it uncommitted balance. So at the bottom, you can see there's about $372,000 that, as of now, we don't have a project concept for each one. They're kind of holding areas that we expected that we might have an expenditure. And so really where that brings us is that sum of money could be reprogrammed sometime between now and the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, for higher priority items, unless there's something that comes forward for the original budgeted project idea. So I would like to call your attention to one in particular. It's about 3/4 of the way down the page, but it's just titled, it's in one of the shaded lines. It's called localized flooding. If you remember, that's been a priority on the priority list for about 1.5 years now. And it says pending proposal from Washoe County. So I know that Washoe County and I believe the city of Reno have been talking about a scope of work with a private contractor to do some field work evaluating problems with too much water in the ditches during high flow periods. And I don't know that the scope of work is finalized on that one, but just with talking with Dwayne Smith, who's engineering and capital projects supervisor, I think he's called a director, that there would be some interest in the Water Planning Commission, Western Regional Water Commission, participating in that scope of work if that's possible, if it fits with our priorities. So that's why I've got that one shown as spending the $160,000 this fiscal year.
I don't see that one, Jim. Am I on the wrong sheet, or?
Well, it's if you scroll down to two
Oh, I
shaded
see.
lines near the bottom of the page, regional flood control planning projects.
Yes, I see it.
$160,000, that's the total for that category, and then just above that is the line that says localized flooding.
I see, I understand. Sorry.
Okay, there's one other that looks like we're going to have some expenditure this year that we don't have an existing contract on. That'll be the subject of the following agenda item, so I'll leave that one until then. But at this point, I would ask for your comments. You know, I'm not looking for any particular action from you other than accept the report, unless you have some other action having to do with any of the, you know, the sums of money, budgeted money on the page.
Comment from Commissioner Plansburg.
Jim, I'm looking at the, about two-thirds down, the watershed management plan update, $75,000. The comment is pending amendment to interlocal agreement with City of Reno. I believe that we have an agreement for $150,000 that was approved in our January 9th meeting as Reno City Council. Is that why the 75 is there? It's considered for the rest of this fiscal year and then 75 for the next fiscal year?
That's right.
Okay, just want to verify. Thank you.
Good question.
That's probably smart right there.
Let's see, I didn't understand that.
Oh, right.
Are we saying that there's the 125 that we're saying is not, I didn't understand what that was.
It looks like that's a typo. It should be 75 and 75. Is that correct?
Oh, I
That's
see.
correct, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Any other
Not
comments?
as much money as you thought.
Commissioner Plansburg?
Just as a comment, met last week with Dwayne Smith and consultant on the localized flooding, that item, looking at our ditches, and we would expect to have a proposal fairly soon to bring something back, Jim. So just an update to the group.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or direction to staff? Somebody like to make a motion to accept the report? Commissioner, go ahead. Okay, a motion from Commissioner Enlow and a second from Commissioner Flansburgh to accept the report. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, our next item is review, discussion, and possible direction, or excuse me, possible recommendation to the WRWC for funding in an amount not to exceed $120,000 from the Regional Water Management Fund over a 3-year period to partially fund a contract for the Nevada Water Innovations Institute, that's NWII, to obtain professional services from a qualified consultant, including project management for the regional category A+ reclaimed water feasibility study, One Water Nevada, in quotes, and possible direction to staff. Mr. Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one really has its origins in the regional effluent management team that we've talked about before, and that just consists of staffs, senior level engineering staff, planning staff from the member agencies of the Western Regional Water Commission, and also a recommendation from the, and request from the Nevada Water Innovation Institute. The issue at hand is, as the second paragraph in the staff report states, we've lost a few people off of that regional effluent management team, but most significantly Rick Warner, who's really been a driving force and a leader in that group on the A+ category reclaimed water, is planning to retire later this month. And losing his leadership on staff creates a pretty good sized void in the driving force and leadership for the A+ reclaimed water effort. And so the team got together with the Nevada Water Innovation Institute and had them put together a scope of work to hire somebody to fill in that leadership role. So that would be essentially leadership, project management. The proposal has outlined a scope of work for what that person would be doing, essentially replacing the work that Rick Warner was doing as a staff member with Washoe County. And then the funding for that position would be split between a couple of agencies. Initially, I think it's going to be the Western Regional Water Commission in Tumwa, and then the city of Reno, I understand, has it on board to be in their next fiscal year budget, so fiscal year 1920, and then for the following years. So what I'm asking for a recommendation from you is to authorize or request that the Western Regional Water Commission authorize up to $120,000 over a 3 calendar year period. It would actually span 4 fiscal years. And that the amount each year would be about $40,000. But so I'm giving you approximations because we don't have funding nailed down from every entity yet. It's probably going to come out to be a little bit less than that, but certainly no more than $120,000 over the 3-year period.
Okay, thank you. A question I have on that, is this, was there not, is this increased funding, or wasn't there already funding for Mr. Warner, or?
Well, there's funding for Mr. Warner as a staff member, but this would be an increase over what has been contributed to the Northern Nevada, or the Nevada Water Innovations Institute, over what's committed there out of the Regional Water Management Fund right now. So it essentially creates a position, or it creates a contract position over there at the Institute at UNR.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion on this item? Or have any comments? Commissioner Enlow.
No one has any further questions. I recommend that.
We have a question here first.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I was trying to ask a question and I got out on the topic, and I apologize for that.
Oh, go ahead, yes.
Jim, did you, is this, the $120,000 over 3 years, obviously $40,000 a year, is that already on this sheet? Is that the $40,000 I'm seeing for reclaimed water planning in Plus leadership?
Yes, that is the same.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Enlow.
Make a motion that staff forward a recommendation to the Western Regional Water Commission for approval of the Nevada Water Innovation Institute's proposal and funding in an amount not to exceed $120,000 of the Regional Water Management Fund for fiscal year 2018-19 through fiscal year 2021-22.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Flansburgh,
And then discussion?
and discussion. Do we have any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Flansburgh.
So as I see this as being one of the higher priorities that we have right now, certainly for Washoe County and the city of Reno, I see this as being a fairly critical piece in specifically, not only in the direction of where we want to go with this, but also in being able to seek out grants and other funding sources to help with the funding of these items. So I see this as kind of investment to help with securing some of those grants. I think the work that we're doing lends itself well for some of these grant opportunities that will come forward. So I think this is a very prudent decision. And so that is why I have a support for this.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, we'll have a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and we're on to item 8, Program Manager's Report. Mr. Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike's still on. Okay. As you're accustomed to seeing, the first page in the Program Manager's Report is a status report on projects and that are included in the work plan. So these are the projects that have actually made it onto the financial tracking system that we have. So the list is quite a bit shorter than the report from 2 agenda items beforehand, but it is a product of what's on our books, so there's a bit of a lag time. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have on those.
Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Flansburgh.
I don't have to be the only one that talks up here, just so you know. So, Jim, on the last item, Truckee Meadows Stormwater Quality Program, so I'm looking at its original PO and then changes. I assume those are mostly the charges, if you will, against those original POs and the balance. But on the last one, it just shows it's obviously looking to be addition to that item, and I just had a question in regards to that. The format was different than the other ones.
That is different.
So is this nearly $60,000, is that actually what's expended against it? And should be-
It should be,
come out as a negative. It didn't.
Okay,
should be subtracted from the
subtracted. I'm not sure
262.5,
why.
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
We're making money.
Got to figure that out for my own investments.
Okay,
Put the correction on the record. so
yeah,
everybody understands.
Jim, could you put the correct numbers on the record for us, please? What are those columns now, or can you figure that out? What the subtraction would be?
Chris Wessel has his calculator out right now, so.
Okay.
So,
Anybody have any questions while we're waiting for Chris? Seeing none, we will.
$202,818. 202,818. Thanks, Chris.
202,818. That's the balance. Which is, is there a percentage?
No,
Sorry.
77%,
75%.
or 77.
Oh, 77.
So, well, yeah, 77% left.
Left.
So
Remaining.
it's probably 23%, positive 23% complete then.
Really not minus,
Would
yeah.
make sense.
23%.
Complete, yeah. that's
Positive. Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other items, any other comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll go on to item 9. Discussion regarding location of possible agenda items for the March 2019 meeting and other future meetings, possible direction to staff. And I think we already made a decision on this, essentially.
On
But Mr.
one.
Slip- Oh, on one.
Right, I would still be hoping to schedule a March 6th, regularly scheduled Water Planning Commission meeting as well. So that would be March 6th, 2019, in this room at the same time. And we just have two agendas or agenda items on board right now, but one of them would be, important would be to review the tentative budget, the draft tentative budget. That would go to the Western Regional Water Commission on March 20th. And so we will compile that, and you'll see it in the same format that you usually do. And then the other item would be a status report on one of the multi-year projects we have going with Nevada Water Innovation Institute, and that would be the Regional Effluent Management Guidance Document development. And what we'll bring in is a set of goals for the region and for entities, sewer or wastewater treatment entities, and then also the facility goals themselves. There's kind of 3 tiers of goals in the draft document that we have so far. And I would probably look to bring in Dr. Jeff Curtis to make that presentation. And then we would be moving on to the March 20th meeting, so 2 meetings for you guys in March.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Anybody have any direction on this item or would like to make a motion? Commissioner Flansburgh.
Jim, I would like to request an additional item for that meeting, which would be a status on the nitrogen removal from Nevada Water Innovations Institute, also on their status of that project.
Okay, would that be for the March 6th?
For the March
meeting?
6th meeting.
Okay,
Since we have them here, we'll queue them up for 2 items.
okay, sounds good. Nitrogen removal.
Okay, any
Okay,
more
so
comments?
noted.
See none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to meet at our regular March 6th meeting with the items that have been identified.
Thank you.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Drinkwater. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, our next item is commissioner comments. Seeing none, go on to staff comments.
No staff items, thank
No
you.
staff comments. Now we have public comments, a limit of 3 minutes per person. I have no cards and see no public that wishes to make a comment, so we'll go on to the next item for possible action, adjournment. Is there a motion for approval? And with a second from Commissioner Enlow. We are, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're done for today. Thank you, everybody.